Good afternoon. Welcome back, everyone, from last week's podcast. Last week, we discussed a pretty heavy topic. It was humanity during times of conflict. And one of our solutions was, or one of our major point of that discussion was that communication really is truly the proper way to resolve many of our differences with all that's going on in the world today. Without communication, we're not getting anywhere. We're going to be stuck. We're going to be stuck with the same mindset um, and even a much greater understanding. Misunderstanding with each other, right? So today's topic is kind of along the lines of what we discussed last week, but what I really wanted to focus on communication today. Communication, what is communication, right? So let's think about the definition of communication. Communication is the process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, and feelings between two or more people or groups. And we do that often. Communication is verbal, nonverbal, so body language. It's written, electronic, phone, email, text. I mean, we do that more often now than ever before. And it's even visual, simple as your symbols that you see, images and videos we see every day, or simply just making eye contact. It's a form of communication, which is visual, somewhat, and nonverbal. And where does the word communication come from? Let's look at that. It comes from the Latin verb communicare, which means to share or to make common. That's so interesting, to make common. And we often forget to understand that what we're discussing oftentimes is common. What the other person may be saying, you already understand that. You may have already heard it before. You may already have the same point of view. But what we don't do is we don't listen carefully, which is a major part of good or great communication, right? In today's time, I mean, why do we have more conflicting dialogue rather than an effective dialogue, right? We often hear each other rather than listen consciously to sincerely understand. We have the desire to be heard. Yes, naturally, as all people do. We want to be heard. We want to be validated. We'd like to share our thoughts, our emotions. We express ourselves through our communication, which is completely normal. But oftentimes, if we overspeak, over-communicate, overshare, that can also be a problem. Because at that moment, you can only do two things out of two things, you can only do one thing at one time, right? It's either you communicate or you listen. And sometimes we over-communicate and we don't listen. We hear each other, but we don't listen. And that's where the issue arises. Because oftentimes we're sharing the same view or are indicating the willingness to achieve the same resolution to an issue, but are unable to connect because of a lower priority on achieving a result. Because we're really not focused on achieving a result because we're communicating over communicating. So rather greater focus on wanting to raise a voice of concern is what we oftentimes do. And if we're going to come to a solution, yes, if you have a great idea, let's talk about it. Share it, be concise, be precise, right? Be coherent and be clear. So the 7 C's that we can truly practice while communicating: clear, concise, concrete, correct, coherent, complete, and courteous, of the 4 I mentioned previously. And that is one of the best ways to get your idea across. And then after that, listening carefully when the other person speaks, because it allows you the opportunity to understand the other person. B, it makes them feel welcomed. And C, when the other person feels welcomed, you've earned their trust. And when you've earned their trust, that's where you properly build communication. Now, you have a better stage or a platform to start exchanging ideas for each other to be more receptive to the other person's opinion, correct? So for us to be receptive to the other person, we also have to hear them first. And that allows them to open up and feel more trusted and feel that we can be more trusted during our communication with them. So we must learn to act with intention rather than emotion, right? It's not about how I feel, less about feeling, because how we feel, sometimes we'd like to get into communicating that. No, let's be more logical and reasonable when we communicate. Let's be more purposeful and mindful when we communicate. Because when we do that, we'll be more precise and more limited in what we say. And we'll stick to what we need to say and then listen to what is being said. And that'll allow us to move forward with more clear intentions on what we need to do to achieve the goal that we're setting out to do, either individually or as a group. So this leads to one of our next topics, kind of a subtopic, cancel culture. So cancel culture is pretty much one of our biggest cause of concerns in the last few years, I would say in the last 5 to 10 years. And why is cancel culture such a concern and on such a rise right now, right? I think part of it's just our society is so impulsive, right? We run after different fads, different ideas, anything that makes us feel purposeful. We kind of just tag ourselves along with that idea and just go with it, but we don't actually critically think about what we're doing. Now, cancel culture kind of arises when someone else has a difference of opinion from how we feel, how we believe, what moral values we hold, or how we think about certain ideas. And if somebody else feels or thinks differently, that tends to be sometimes disrespectful to us, or even rubs us the wrong way, or something we just don't agree with. I'm sorry, we disagree with it. Sometimes we don't agree with it. So what we do is we'll denounce them, we'll disenfranchise a group or a person as soon as we feel offended. But see, that just shows one thing. The moment you jump on that cancel culture boat, it means you completely cut off that communication. See, communication is so powerful, we forget to use it to change the other person. Rather, we don't want to listen to them. We just want to be heard. And if that person's opinion is different, cut them off, cancel them. And we're ruining a simple individual. Their whole life is being completely ruined, but we don't care because why? We have a difference of opinion and we don't hold the ability to communicate to them how they could view something differently or how we could learn from them and view something differently too. No, because why? We're already offended. It's too late. My emotions are hurt. My mind is shut off because my emotions are taking over my logic. That's when cancel culture really becomes so strong. That's why it's become so strong. So most of us are just more emotional than logical. And that's the issue today. So we have to learn to control our emotions, as oftentimes ideas presented opposing our views, perception, values are sometimes difficult to hear and internalize, but it is in that critical moment if we are able to achieve a control on our emotions and direct ourselves to listen, it is then we can achieve a point of agreement and even experience personal growth, right? Just because cancel culture is strong and you've canceled someone out, it doesn't mean they're completely 100% wrong. No, sometimes it's just how they've presented or portrayed their thoughts or emotions or perspective on a topic, and sometimes, which can rub us the wrong way, and sometimes what they're saying is maybe 30% wrong or 70% wrong, or some maybe not even wrong, but what we disagree with. But there is some little point that they have made that we could learn from. But what we do is we completely shut someone off. It's the complete extreme opposites that we live on. We don't live, there's a spectrum of disagreement. We forgot about that, right? We live on extremes. No, we have to understand that we're humans and everything is on a spectrum. Right? Our emotions are on a spectrum. So let's not live on extremes. We need to start moving on a spectrum. And if we disagree with someone, that's okay. Let's do it with respect. And while we move forward, let's first take what they've said and kind of critique it with some neutrality. So being honest and fair, whether they were right or wrong. And let's be also honest towards our own emotions and thoughts about that idea. Was that person really that wrong, or did we just not like what they said? Or maybe we just don't like the person. So we have to question our own intentions as well, so we can arrive to a true solution that is the most fair and just possible, right? Because ultimately, even if we disagree with someone or are offended, we must remember that a person's beliefs and values are always dynamic. They do not always stay in one place, rather always changing based on experiences. And you could be a part of that experience of that other person to help bring change in their life. Nope, but we're going to cancel them. See, you've already lost one individual that could be part of something more powerful, something greater. could be along your side, stand by your side, and help achieve a goal that you both could agree on. But no, we've completely taken them out of the picture. So we must learn to take this wonderful humanistic attribute of being able to grow and change as an opportunity to bring others to a better point of view and be able to see a certain subject or topic from an angle they or we may have never seen before. Now, if we're looking to shun the other person, we will never attain the change we want to see in the world, because change comes from power, and the power belies within the people. And if we lose the people, we lose the power. So it all starts from us as people and moves forward with us as people. Don't forget that, right? I hope we take this message and ponder so we can better our ability to deal with people of different opinions around us and to become a better, more harmonized community, whether it is a difference in politics, religion, or any other issue. Because only through communication can we truly resolve our differences and better understand each other. Just as a parent takes the time to just listen to their child, dialogue with them, respect them, bring them to a point of understanding through love, respect, and communication. And sometimes much sacrifice. Sometimes you have to go through with your child through so much just for them to finally listen and understand what you were saying many, many, many times before. And you have to go through that growing period with your child. See, it's the same concept with other human beings, whether they're grown adults or just young individuals. So I hope we can use the same love and respect that we use for our child with others in our lives to hold dialogue and better our future. So with this, I hope we can move forward with better intentions so we can resolve our differences and better our communities in the best possible manner. That being said, thank you for your time. I wish that we can learn from what I've discussed, and really starting from myself first and foremost. And if you have any thoughts, please share them in the comment. Do subscribe, do leave a comment, and do like. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Take care.